We are still creating basic forms. We have arrived to know all the type of questions in the previous video, which I had a problem because it was not number two. It was we're in the third chapter, but we're still having the same formula. Our cup wash for Asosa in Ethiopia. It's a fake one. But then now we are talking about compulsory or not. So each question will have here several options that we can choose. So depending on the type of question, we will have different options. Compulsory or not, it's quite important because if you say that the question is mandatory, so mandatory response, yes. If you click yes, you have to answer this question. So data has to be entered. And this might pose a problem if somebody don't want to answer, then what does the surveyor makes? So in some questions you really need to have it, but for example, maybe the GPS location it should not be compulsory, and maybe questions about mental health, for example, maybe they should not be compulsory. So this is one of the things. And then appearance of the question. Questions have appeared in different forms, and appearance is here. So depending on the type of question you will have different appearances that you can play with. One that I always like to change is this for single select. I like to have it quick. So instead of having to tap once to select and then scroll the window to pass, when you click, it will automatically go to the next one. You can play a little bit with them. It can be minimal, it can be horizontal, or with no labels. Me personally, either I don't take anything or I take quick for this particular one. If you see, for example, in this one, you have difference. You don't have the quick one because you can choose more than one. So this one I usually don't change. Ignore logic is very important. For example, uh, in this name of the person, we can add another question here, which is 1.1, for example. I'm following my numbering, right? And it's like what ICAR? So meaning that maybe we have different ICARs in the organization, and then, right, I can tell you check if you are ICAR Casillas or maybe you are ICAR Montes. This is a very bad example because you should have put here maybe Iker Montes and Iker Casillas to make it more easy, but just to demonstrate that, right? So I want this question only ask if people here selects Iker. If they select Martin, it's okay. There is no problem. Luis, no problem. Okay, but if it's Iker, then we can go here, right? And type here, skip logic for this question and add a condition. And then select this question from the list. And it will give us all the questions that are below this, because it's something this has to be already asked and respond. And then if the name of the person is equal to Iker, then you ask me that, right? It could be Iker and Luis. So then you can say if the name of the question is equal Iker or Luis, right? Iker and Luis, and this should match any of these criteria. So if the name of the question, the person is Iker, or if the name of the person is Luis, then you ask me this question. So in this case, if it's Martin, it will not be. Or for example, it could be not. So I can delete this one. And then if the name of the person is not Iker, ask me this. So then now it would mean that if I tick Martin or Luis, I will get asked this. But let's just make it more simple and say equal to Iker. So this is what is called skip logic. And it's very useful for this kind of question. Like, do you have a latrine? Yes. Then if you have a latrine, I ask you questions about the latrine. And if not, I do not, because you don't have a latrine. Similar to that. Then we can have another, like here in the multiple, select multiple or select single, we can have something that is usually there and it's called other, right? So I will type another different different name. So you can type your name. If you're not Iker, Martin, or Luis, you can still have the choice to get that. And then what I do now is that I would write here a following up question 1.0, for example, just to keep with this numbering. For me, the numbering, I mean, if you can do it matching perfect is good, but the good thing is that you have something to start off and is more or less organized, even if it's not perfect. So then, if other specify, right? So then you add a question, and then this one you should make it into text so they can type anything they want, right? So now this question, it's always asked. So what we need to do is make an ignore logic that will ask, so we add a condition that if the name of the person is equal to other, then you ask me this. If not, you don't ask me this. By the way, one important thing that I have not done yet is to save my formula, because if something goes wrong now, I would lose probably everything because I'm not uploading it. So I click on save. Very important every now and then. Successfully updated. Now I'm safe. So then we have this, and then we can have a look. We can preview our form, and it will pop up a small thing, and then it will ask us, read this to the person interview, blah, blah, blah. So this is the first question, is a note. And then I can choose Iker. And then if I choose Iker, it asks me Casillas or Montes. I can click Casillas. If I ask Martin, it doesn't. If I type other, it tells me specify Mohammed. You can write there, right? What type of animal do you like? Cat, dog, and bird. I like them, all of them. Free text. I can type anything I want. Number of brothers. I can type 1, 12. But if I try to put a comma, it won't let me. Whereas here, if I type a comma, it will let me. Date of birth. I will get like hour. You can type 23. Okay, apparently it's in. Oops. Yeah, 23, 22, 20, 11, 22. Allow. And then latitude and longitude. For example, now it's knowing that I'm in Oslo already. So, but here you will have your latitude, longitude. This will be automatically populated by your GPS data. And then take a photo, which I will just have to browse, but it will come as a photo. And then you can validate. The form is valid. So now you know we're in the good track. You don't have any errors. Going on, validation criteria and error messages. So for example, if we go here, validation criteria, yeah. I'm trying to find. Validation criteria is when you want to have like a certain number of digits, or you want to have a certain number of characters and things like that. So you can type here code and an error message. And for that, it's a little bit more complicated than what we're aiming now, but maybe we'll have to add it later on. But error messages, it would be like if you have more than that or less than that. One example that I can think of, it's for example, in the number we asked number of brothers and sisters. So validation criteria, we can have this question response has to be greater than or equal to 0, because you cannot have negative brothers and sisters. And then this question has to be, for example, less than or equal to, let's be crazy, 99. You cannot have 100 brothers and sisters. You can have 99. And then error message, you can type whatever you want it to show. So the number should be between 0 and 99 included. All right. So next time we type, we can restrict that. And different questions have different restrictions or validations, and yeah, so you just have to play with them. Another thing that I forgot about is the hint. Hint is like a hint for people to read, like for the numerator. They have to read the question, but you can give them a hint. For example, it's important in the hint in the GPS. You have to, what I usually write is that for GPS reception, you need to be outdoors, right? Because if not, the GPS will not work. So I can write this with my GPS as a GPS hint. And then another important thing is that we can group questions. We're going to collapse them all here, right? And we can group questions. For example, group 0, question 1 to up to here, we can group and create a group that is called general data. General data, right? And we can collapse it all at once. And then, for example, the other group, we can select all of them. Sorry. We can select the rest of the questions. I'm selecting them one by one, and then we can do, for example, this can be called wash, right? And for example, within general data, we're going to, now we have two different small things here. If we click here, we create a new question in the group. If we click it here, it's outside of the group. So we're going to click inside the group and say, question number 2.1, for example. Can I make you wash questions? Questions. And then this, they will be able to reply yes only, yes or not. Yes or no. Okay? Or no. Good. So now, for example, in here, in the wash, we have also skip logic for the whole group. And then, for example, if I have, can I make you wash questions? It's equal yes, then I will ask you wash questions. But if not, I don't ask you wash questions. So in this way, you can skip a bunch of questions. You can skip as many as maybe 20 questions or 100 questions or whatever amount you have, just by doing that. Okay. I don't know what happened with my wash questions. Let me see. So now we can see here if it worked. Can I make you wash question? Yes. And then all the wash questions appear. If I click no, all the wash questions disappear. So as this, you could just do one type of question. Like if you're refugees, I ask you this. If you are a host population, I ask you this other thing. If you have got a wash kit, I will ask you about the distribution monitoring, whereas if not, I will not. So you can skip a whole bunch of questions. And then yeah, that's about simple form creation.